Morning, guys. Welcome to the Balanced Ape again. Let's talk about AI as I cycle furiously past a whole bunch of other places here on my commute into work. Let's talk about AI. What our understanding is of at the moment. Do you actually use? That's the question. Hop into the comments if you actually use AI. Which ones do you use? What do you think of it? And while you're at it, maybe like and subscribe if you want to keep up with the latest goings on in lots of different realms. Anyway, so AI 2027, I would go to just Google AI 2027 and you'll see there's a paper written that sort of documents a couple of strategies that these former researchers or guys who used to work for OpenAI have detailed. It's sort of two scenarios where they try and predict what might happen over the next while, literally within the next 2 years. One is a worst case scenario where things absolutely go to shit, and one is where maybe things aren't so bad. It's quite an interesting read, and they do kind of try and document it. Now look, whether or not you believe it is one thing, but at least they are highlighting the whole issue of safety and alignment. So if you don't know already, what they're calling the alignment problem is we're making these AIs. What happens if they get really smart, but what are they aligned to our values? And then that's the bigger question, what values are we talking about? Western values, Eastern values? You know, is there going to be AIs for every country? Or is it just going to be some kind of weird free-for-all? I know it's very hard to predict the future. We just don't know what can happen in the future. But I think the very near term is going to be something that we're all going to feel and we're all starting to see. So for example, like with jobs, in particular entry-level jobs, right? White collar, entry-level, desk jobs, coding jobs. I'm thinking about the big three, big companies where they have consultants, young people coming out of college who have degrees but are finding it very difficult to get jobs. Because at the moment, these big companies are starting to, little by little, but it's starting to happen more, and you know, wouldn't be surprised if it actually starts to accelerate. They're getting rid of a lot of the entry-level jobs. So jobs where you might traditionally hire young people who came out of college with a degree are now surplus to what you need. So you can run a corporation now with a lot less people. It's just the way. Like, okay, I wonder if this guy's gonna let me go here. This is bananas this morning on our commute. But yeah, so this whole next generation is finding it very difficult to get jobs. But if you're my age, right, so the interesting thing, let's say you're my age, you're Generation Xer, you're a software developer, or you're in a company. Yes, it could be a precarious situation because you don't want to lose your job now, right? At 50 plus years of age, like what are you going to retrain for, right? That's the other issue. Everybody says, oh yeah, just get another job, retrain, do this, do that. But what are you going to retrain for? And who's going to be doing all this grand retraining? And how the hell do they know what to retrain for? Because we are headed into, the next 10 years are going to be the Wild West. Nobody really knows what's going to happen with jobs, with the economy, with the meaning of work. It's all changing really fast. So if you have children, like I do, that are still young, it is quite a thing right now. You really do have to start thinking, like, what are my kids going to do when they get out of college? Are they even going to go to college? This whole idea of university, what was the point of it anyway? I think one of the greatest benefits of university is just, you know, growing as a human being, learning how to function. So not just the rote learning of anything. I think the important thing is still going to be the social aspect. So anyway, what will our kids do? I don't know. If you're in the States, I mean, the cost is ridiculous, right? So, you know, we're talking about inflation previously. Like, it's just getting worse. What's college going to be like in the future? University. And what's the point of it? Like, if you go to university and you get a degree, and then you come out, well, what are you supposed to work as? Especially white collar or things that supposedly paid a lot more money. So there's a lot going on. And because I think the whole system is designed so that we have corporations in charge of everything. Governments are asleep behind the wheel. They're always too slow. The capitalist machine keeps cranking on while everybody else is just sort of fumbling around. And there's all these distraction techniques and the media, it's all basically back to let them eat cake. Nobody gives a shit. But anyway, whoa, it's really starting to rain now. I hope my gear survives. But yeah, so corporations don't care. Their fiduciary responsibility is to their shareholders, right? They're not here trying to help society, no matter how much Zuckerberg or Sam Altman say. Their main responsibility is to their shareholders and to making money. So how does that align with the rest of us? We're just trying to survive. It's a tricky situation, folks, that we're living in. And so I hope you're all kind of keeping up to speed with this and preparing. Look at this one. She's just pulling right in front of me. BMW, huh? Like what is it? The ultimate driving machine. What are you doing? Hello. Anyway, people are they don't care, See, so here I am on my bike talking about the future of the world, and people, again, good point is that people don't care. They're all just in their own little bubbles. And it suits the corporations, right? Like, why should you have people thinking about this? You can't. And guess what? They're not in charge either. Like, this is one thing that you learn when you get to 52 years of age. You realize that nobody is actually in charge. This whole thing is somehow running itself in many ways, and then in other ways it's just a system that was set up by people smarter than us back in the day. And it's still running itself, and yet you have people that rise to the top, whatever that is supposed to be. I guess when you look at the power structure, they rise to the top, they take charge, like everything, it gets co-opted, and they don't care. So the point is, corporations don't give a shit about any of us. They give a shit about money, right? Which is not even a cynical thing, and it's not even necessarily that they're evil people or anything. It's just the way the world works. People do what is in their best interest, and the system is set up in capitalist countries to benefit shareholders and benefit corporations. So we need to be prepared for what's going to happen in the future. So I would recommend that you educate yourselves about where AI is going. This is the most transformative, most powerful technology that humanity has ever created. And now it's on its own. It's doing whatever. It's doing things. Like, I know smart people have set up AI, right? But the truth is, the majority of the people in it don't actually know how it works. It's like they've created the brain, they've used evolution somehow to create the algorithm, and now it's learning, and it does things which we don't understand how it does. I mean, we don't even understand how the human brain works. So, kind of makes sense. Why would we understand some other alien technology? We can't even understand our own technology and our wetware in our skull. Okay. Sorry. So, yeah, I would recommend everybody get up to speed on what is happening in the world of AI. Understand it as not just chatbots, right? Chatbots are one thing, and yes, it's going to help you with your productivity, and I use the various large language models as well to help me in my work. But the bigger picture, remember, there is other things besides large language models. There's other, look that up. Ask ChatGPT or ask your favorite large language model. Just put in, what are the other types of AI that are being researched and being used now besides large language models? And you will see there's all kinds of stuff, because a large language model, think about it, is just messing with language, text, right? Text, and it's somehow gotten super good at making sense of the world, or whatever it thinks is the world, based on text. But there's all kinds of other things. There's the visual, there's audio, just pure patterns. So I'm hopeful that in conjunction with the large language models, these other types of AI models are going to actually help us with, things like, let's think like healthcare, right? Healthcare is going to be huge. We want to solve disease, like it's possible. I know longevity research is going, we can all live longer too. And I'll make a whole other video on that, and we can talk about your thoughts about longevity, because, I've got my thoughts on that too. Oh, here, look, oh no, you can't see. You'll see the Heineken building there. But yeah, longevity, that'll be another video maybe I'll make. I think we're gonna have to talk a lot about AI, I say, because it is just so huge. But I'd love to get your thoughts on AI, how you're using it, what you think about the future and all that, because at the moment, things are moving so fast. The people who are in the know, supposedly, don't really know. That's the scary thing. How has that ever happened in human history? Technology moves slow enough so that even the people who invented it or whatever, they kind of have some kind of inkling, and they're like, yeah. But everything moves so slowly. But this is like flying by, right? And everybody's just sweeping on it. Everybody's just like, oh yeah, it helps me write an email, right? Bro, it's a little bit more powerful than that. And the people in the know are using it for a lot more powerful things. And it's only going to accelerate, because every time these models get smarter, they're just proving that you can leapfrog, use what you've learned to increase everything else. Think about chip manufacturing. That's one of the most difficult things, right? You need whole teams of engineers to design the next level, the next iteration of microchips, GPUs, all the stuff that they're using for AI. But now they have AI to help them, right? So it's only going to accelerate. So when that technology accelerates, then it's going to have all these knock-on effects. So look, geez, there literally is so much. And you have to kind of educate yourself in so many different fields now. Like, you can't just be going through your life. Well, you could, but you're not going to be, you're the one that's going to get blindsided when things go, when you're going to be like, whoa, look at the world that we live in now. I think it is moving fast. Maybe it won't. Maybe everybody's totally wrong and everything will be exactly the same. Kind of like now, it's 2025, and I try and think back to the 90s. Like, how much has changed? We have the internet, now we have these LLMs, we have all these things. But I'm still on a bicycle, cycling to work. They told me there was going to be flying cars. Back to the Future told me that all kinds of crazy stuff was going to happen by this time, 2025. None of that happened, right? So, okay, people are going to be all cynical and say, oh, that's exactly the way this is going to turn out. AI is a bubble. Nothing's going to happen. But it's actually a real thing now. This whole AI business is not pie in the sky. It's not just made up. It's happening right before our eyes, and we need to prepare for it. I don't know how, but at the very least, guys, just try and understand what it actually means. Now, so I'm on Parliament Street, which is great that it's been pedestrianized now. Sorry I can't show it to you. I have got a better system. But yeah, educate yourself, guys, on where we're moving with AI. Start looking at this idea of economics, right? What is going to happen if when the price goes down to zero. Now I know we're in this cost of living crisis at the moment, and that's going to continue because the governments don't have other tools other than to print money. So that stupidity is going to continue for the next few years. But in the background, AI is going to keep getting better. It's going to automate more things. It's going to take more jobs. And then there's going to be huge implications for the economy. Okay, because what happens when everything becomes very cheap? So the people at the top are going to have all the money, but nobody's going to be able to spend any of it because nobody has a job. I mean, the regular people, it's already decimated. It's decimating, hollowing out the middle class, right? You can't function in America, or I'd say even here in many parts of Europe. Like, I find it difficult now too. You can't just have a regular job and expect to live and improve your standard of living or whatever. You're just kind of stuck watching the numbers tick up, right? So I'm hoping, ring my bell, that we get to a place where labor does get disconnected from work. Because up till now, labor has been connected to work, right? But it is disconnecting, okay? Like, you do not need to pay an AI. You do not need to pay an AI as much as a human, right? If anything, it's pennies on the euro, pennies on the dollar, whatever. And so you barely have to pay an AI anything. It's just their electricity bill and make sure they've got compute. Whereas a human has rights, as we should. And you've got to go to the bathroom, you've got to do stuff. But that is just going to keep getting less and less of an issue, especially once these humanoid robots really start to take off. Companies like Unitree and what's the Atlas one? Boston Dynamics, Elon's, Tesla bots, they're all getting really good, and they're only going to get better. Why? Because now they can use AI and other tools to streamline things, find better ways of doing it, faster ways to manufacture, and then it'll get better. At the moment, the bottleneck is they probably just can't manufacture them fast enough. But once we get to that stage, I don't know, robot escape velocity, whatever, if it has been said before, then we're really going to see some big business, yeah? It's going to be big business because people are going to be out of a job, bro. You know, people are going to be out of jobs. And what are you going to do? And then if this whole social unrest business keeps going and this whole, you know, us versus them, right versus left, everybody's an enemy unless they're a friend, whatever. Like, you know, if we keep this up, things are going to be bad. Anyway, guys, I'm going to sign off now. That was my spiel for the moment. Let's talk more, really. Come on. Subscribe, like. We can have some great conversations. I would like to bring in my friend, one of my friends. We're going to have a little podcast, but tell me if you think that's a good idea rather than just seeing my head talking. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep trying. So until then, till the next time, guys, till the next video, be good to each other and keep on evolving.